probably give them a minute to get started. Would you mind? Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin in just a moment. Thank you. Esteemed guests, good afternoon. My name is Colonel Zebulon Murray, and I'm your Master of Ceremonies for today's swearing in, change of responsibility, and retirement ceremonies. Thank you for being here today. The ceremony will begin momentarily. We will respectfully request that all electronic devices be turned off or silenced at this time. Throughout the ceremony, you will be given cues to stand and to be seated at appropriate times. When the room is called to attention, military protocol requires those in uniform to stand at attention. Civilian guests may stand or remain seated. Thank you. Distinguished guests, members of the Department of Defense, Veterans and Emergency Management, fellow commissioners, members of the Maine State Legislature, veterans, retirees, currently serving military members, family, and friends. On behalf of the Honorable Janet T. Mills, Governor of the great state of Maine and Commander-in-Chief of the Maine National Guard, welcome to today's ceremony. We are gathered here today to witness this historic swearing-in ceremony of Brigadier General Diane Dunn, the Adjutant General change of responsibility, and to celebrate the retirement of Major General Douglas Farnham. Esteemed guests, please stand for the arrival of the official party. Please be seated. At this time, we will recognize and welcome our official party and other distinguished guests. The Honorable Janet T. Mills, Governor of the great state of Maine, Lieutenant General Mark H. Sassville, Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau, Major General Douglas A. Farnham, the Adjutant General and Commissioner of Department of Defense, Veterans and Emergency Management, Brigadier General Diane L. Dunn, incoming Adjutant General and Commissioner of Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. Our distinguished guests, the Honorable Angus King, U.S. Senator, Major General David Michaelides, New Hampshire Adjutant General, the Honorable Aaron Fry, Maine Attorney General, the Honorable Rachel Talbot Ross, Speaker of the Maine House of Representatives, Lieutenant General Retired L. Scott Rice, former Director of the Air National Guard, Major General Retired Earl Adams, Maine's 36th Adjutant General, Major General Retired Mike Stencil, former Oregon Adjutant General, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Chris Merrill, Command Chief Warrant Officer, Maine Army National Guard, Command Sergeant Major Alexander Clifford, State Command Sergeant Major, Maine Army National Guard, Chief Master Sergeant Ryan Cody, State Command Chief Master Sergeant, Maine Air National Guard, Mr. Chuck Mahalaris, representing Senator Susan Collins, Ms. Kim Ron, representing Congressman Jared Golden, Ms. Brenda Pennells, civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, members of the Maine State Legislature, fellow commissioners, fellow general officers, Major General Douglas A. Farnham's family members, his wife, the Honorable Nikki S. Farnham, son Scott Farnham and his wife Hillary, son Carl Farnham and his girlfriend Elise, son Gary Farnham, brother and sister-in-law Don and Karen Farnham, and aunts and uncles. Brigadier General Diane Dunn's family members, her husband Jim Dunn, daughter Kayla Dunn and boyfriend Tommy Freeman, daughter Kristen and grandchildren Aaliyah, Janelli, and Zachary Dunn, son Second Lieutenant Marcus and his wife Erin Dunn, mother and stepfather Ruth and Roland Jewell, mother-in-law, father-in-law Pat and David Dunn, brother and sister-in-law Jeff and Michelle Meserve, sister-in-law and brother-in-law Kathy and David Stevens, and aunts. Esteemed guests, please rise for the posting of the colors and the national anthem performed by Maine's own 195th Army Band and the invocation by Pastor Collinsworth.
Mark time. March. Colors. Halt. Ready. Face. Preset. Arm. Colors. Halt. Ready. Face. Colors. Post. Ready. Up. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Ready. Face. Ready. Step.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Pastor Collinsworth, please come forward and provide an invocation.
I invite you to be in prayer with me. Eternal God, God of infinite wisdom, you hold the times and seasons, endings and beginnings in your hands. Bless, we pray, the transitions that we gather to honor and celebrate this day. Bless Major General Douglas A. Farnham, who now enters a new time of life and of service. We give you thanks for all that he has accomplished, for all that has been woven into the fabric of his years of leadership and service. Holy God, bless U.S. Army Brigadier General Diane L. Dunn as she steps up to lead as Adjutant General the Maine National Guard and serve as Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. O God, as you have anointed leaders and called prophets through time, lead us this day to recognize these true and authentic leaders. They are leaders who love your people and have shown their ability to walk with them, ones who are capable of feeling their pain and sharing their joys, ones who have been gifted and called to lead them to common goals. In your fire and with your spirit, O God, embolden your child Diane and commission her to transform this role to which she has been called, so that she might serve the people of Maine excellently, and that she might bring glory to your name in so doing. In all that we celebrate, and for those we recognize this day, we give you thanks and praise. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Collinsworth. Senator Susan Collins sends her regrets that she was not able to be with us today. She asked that we share this message on her behalf.
The motto of the National Guard is always ready, always there. Today we celebrate two people who have always been ready and always been there. As General Doug Farnham hands over the baton of leadership to General Diane Dunn, we celebrate two outstanding patriots who have helped to make that motto not merely words, but a promise kept. Throughout his 40 years of service to our nation as a pilot and in command positions, General Farnham has demonstrated courage, integrity, and professionalism. During his past 8 years as Adjutant General of the Maine National Guard and as Commissioner for the Maine Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management, Doug has led a team of dedicated airmen, soldiers, and employees who have performed at the highest levels, from overseas deployments to disaster response here at home. In my work on defense funding, I've appreciated General Farnham's commitment to ensuring that our men and women in uniform have the equipment, facilities, and training they need to carry out their vital missions. General Dunn has also demonstrated tremendous leadership during her 33 years with the Maine Army National Guard, including serving as the battalion commander in Afghanistan and as chief of staff. As the first woman general in the Maine Guard, and now as the first woman to serve as adjutant general, she is a trailblazer and an inspiration. We are so fortunate that she has come out of military retirement and given up a good job at the University of Maine to take on these great responsibilities. We are grateful for the dedicated service of these two extraordinary leaders. Thank you both for your service to America.
In January 2013, Senator Angus King was sworn in as Maine's first independent United States Senator. Senator King is a member of the Armed Service Committee, the Committee on Veterans Affairs, and several other committees. Senator King also served as the 72nd Governor of Maine. Senator King, would you please come forward to make remarks?
You notice he said Armed Services and Veterans Affairs and several other committees. I think he knew his audience. It's a great honor and a privilege to be here today to congratulate these two extraordinary individuals. I have to also acknowledge my friend Earl Adams, who was my Adjutant General and was so instrumental in the work that we did during the period of the late 90s and early part of this century. I have to say, though, once Earl took me up to the 101st Airborne to speak to the troops, and we walked into the back of one of the hangars, there were all these people standing there at attention. And as I usually do, I had a few humorous remarks. Nothing. So I don't know if you remember this, Earl. I turned to you and I said, can you give them some kind of order that allows them to laugh? That was a formative experience. I think of the National Guard as the Swiss Army knife of Maine. It's an organization that does so many different things, and I'm holding a challenge coin from the 120th Regional Support Group that just returned from deployment in Europe. So that's one side of the coin of the work that the National Guard does on behalf of the national security of the United States. My most vivid memory of the National Guard here in Maine was during the ice storm of 1998, when the state was paralyzed. 600,000 or 700,000 people didn't have electricity. We learned that oil burners don't work without electricity. And the National Guard was an integral part of our response during that terrible 2 or 3 week period. Now, the governor isn't very sympathetic because her crisis was COVID, which lasted almost 2 years. But the National Guard is just such a unique and important and critical resource to the people of the state of Maine and the people of the country. Of course, Doug Farnham has given extraordinary service to his country as a pilot, as a trainer, and then as a leader and commander. And General Dunn is now taking the baton of authority and leadership. And she, I know, will continue the tradition. Earl Adams, Joe Tinkham, Bill Libby, Doug Farnham, and now General Diane Dunn. So I congratulate them. I thank them for their commitment to service, and we'll look forward to working with them on behalf of the people of Maine and the people of the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator King. You'll find full biographies for both Major General Farnham and Brigadier General Dunn in your programs. Major General Douglas A. Farnham assumed duties as the Adjutant General, Maine National Guard, and Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management in January 2016. He is responsible for managing the activities of Maine's Army and Air National Guard, Bureau of Veterans Services, and Maine Emergency Management Agency. Under General Farnham's steady leadership, the Maine National Guard continued to take a lead role in the National Guard Arctic Interest Council. Additionally, he took a keen interest in the state partnership program with Montenegro, highlighted by Montenegro's accession to NATO in 2017. Nearly 700 soldiers and airmen were mobilized in support of Maine's COVID-19 response efforts. This was the largest domestic activation in the history of the Maine National Guard. Major General Farnham led the Maine Guard during a period of record-breaking aircraft flying hours and support to contingency operations around the globe. The Maniacs flew more than 1,637 combat sorties. The Maine Army National Guard supported overseas contingency operations in several theaters of operations. It also supported U.S. Customs and Border Protection and capital response efforts. General Farnham oversaw the mobilization of over 2,500 soldiers and airmen in support of Homeland Defense missions. General Farnham's persistence in improving funding has resulted in the Maine Emergency Management Agency's ability to prepare for and respond to Maine communities through the Disaster Relief Fund and the new Preparedness Division. During Major General Farnham's tenure, Maine Bureau of Veterans Services has been awarded 4 U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Abraham Lincoln Pillars of Excellence. These awards highlight the accomplishments made within suicide prevention, homelessness, justice-affected veterans, and the Maine Veterans Dental Network. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our governor, the Honorable Janet T. Mills, Governor of the great state of Maine. Janet Trafton Mills was sworn in as the 75th Governor of Maine on January 2nd, 2019. She is the first and second female Governor of Maine. She is a Farmington native who has been loyal supporter of the Department of Defense and Emergency Management, military members, and family, leading the department through the global pandemic, several state responses, and recent storm relief efforts. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Janet T. Mills.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon as we all thank Major General Doug Farnham for his years and decades of decorated service on behalf of the state of Maine, and as we officially transfer his leadership of the Maine Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management to General Diane Dunn. For nearly 40 years, General Farnham's dedicated service has made our state and our nation strong. After serving as commander of the 101st Air Refueling Wing in the Maine Air National Guard, General Farnham was nominated by Governor LePage to serve as Adjutant General and Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. When I took office, I asked him to stay on, and I cannot express how grateful I am that you agreed. General Farnham's wise counsel and advice has been invaluable to me as we've faced unprecedented challenges, from a global pandemic and a public health crisis where the National Guard played a vital role in helping our hospitals stay alive, and then to a series of destructive storms where the Maine Emergency Management Agency has been crucial. I relied on his unwavering integrity to help get us through those challenges, as did our service members and dedicated staff of the department. And I thank him for working with me to protect the lives of Maine people. General Farnham's contributions to the state of Maine during crises have been exemplary, but his daily dedication to improving life for veterans in the state of Maine should also be noted. That dedication led my office, my administration, to reestablish a Veterans Advisory Council, the aide-de-camp, and to expand dental care and health benefits for veterans, and to bolster veteran job recruitment efforts. All improvements that are making Maine the best place in the nation for service members to live and work and raise a family. General Farnham, I wish you nothing but the best as you embark on your well-deserved retirement. We will miss you, but I'm glad to say Maine people will continue to be well served by your successor, Brigadier General Diane Dunn. A former Assistant Adjutant General and Chief of Staff of the Maine Army National Guard, General Dunn is uniquely and highly qualified to serve as Adjutant General and Commissioner. She has served in many leadership positions throughout her 33 years of distinguished military service. As Company Commander of the Headquarters and Headquarters Detachment, 286th Supply Services Battalion in Bangor, as Battalion Commander of the 240th Regional Training Institute while it was in Augusta, as Battalion Commander of the 286th Combat Sustainment Support Battalion in both Bangor and Afghanistan, and as Brigade Commander of the 120th Regional Support Group in Bangor. In 2014, General Dunn became the first woman to command a brigade in the Maine Army National Guard. In 2020, when she was promoted to Brigadier General, she then became the first female general officer in the 200-year history of the Maine Army National Guard. And now, General Dunn will make history again by becoming the first woman in Maine state history to serve as Adjutant General of the Maine National Guard and Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. She is deeply respected by the men and women of the department who have served with her and very qualified for the job. As the legislature recognized when they confirmed her overwhelmingly in this post, General Dunn is the absolute right person to take on the immense responsibilities of leading Maine's National Guard and the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. General Dunn, thank you once again for answering the call to serve the state of Maine and the nation. Are you ready to assume command?
Yes, ma'am.
Phew.
Governor Mills will now swear General Dunn in as the Adjutant General and Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management for Maine.
Repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Diane Lynn Dunn,
Do swear
do swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so long as I shall continue
so long as I shall continue
a citizen thereof.
a citizen thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your full name.
I, Diane Lynn Dunn,
Do swear
do swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my abilities
to the best of my abilities
the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent on me
as Adjutant General, Maine National Guard, Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management,
as Adjutant General of the Maine National Guard and Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management,
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and the laws of the state.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Esteemed guests, Maine's 41st Adjutant General and Commissioner of the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management, Brigadier General Diane L. Dunn. The change of responsibility ceremony is rooted in military history dating back to the 18th century during the reign of Frederick the Great of Prussia. At that time, organization flags were developed with color arrangements and symbols unique to each particular unit. To this flag and its commander, the soldiers and airmen of the unit would dedicate their loyalty and trust. When a change of responsibility was to take place, the flag was passed to the individual assuming the responsibility. This gesture was accomplished in front of the unit so that all could see and witness their new leader assuming their dutiful position. Whoever held the flag also held the unit's allegiance. This symbolic tradition has continued throughout military history. State law, Title I, Section 206, State Flag, states, "A flag made in accordance with the description given in this section shall be kept in the office of the Adjutant General as a model." Today we are transferring the Maine state flag to signify the passing of responsibility from Major General Farnham to General Dunn. General Farnham, as the outgoing Adjutant General and Commissioner, has provided honorable and distinguished service throughout his tenure. General Dunn will assume responsibility for the Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. The presiding officer is the Honorable Janet T. Mills, Governor of the great state of Maine. The official party will now take their positions for the change of responsibility. Governor Mills will now initiate the change of responsibility.
Please publish the order.
Attention to orders. Special Order Dated 2 February 2024, by the direction of the Governor, Brigadier General Diane Dunn is appointed Adjutant General, Maine National Guard, Camp Chamberlain, Augusta, Maine, effective 2 February 2024, by order of the Governor, Janet T. Mills.
Officers, center.
Ma'am, I relinquish command.
Ma'am, I assume responsibility.
At ease. Please be seated. Governor Mills and General Farnham, please be seated. General Dunn will now provide remarks.
Thank you. Governor Mills, thank you for entrusting me with the duties and responsibilities of this position. Lieutenant General Sassville, distinguished guest, family, friends, community members, and those viewing online, thank you for taking time to share in this very special event. I would like to pay special recognition to our employers and our families. Thank you for your support that allows the men and women of the department to serve our state and nation. While there may be a little extra attention on today's event, I have the distinct honor and privilege to use this opportunity to share with everyone here or watching online that we can now celebrate. 200 years later, the Adjutant General of the state of Maine enters a new era, and forevermore will be truly obtainable for anyone willing to put in the time and effort required to hold the position. In my mind, the opportunities have always been available for leadership at the highest level. And I have navigated my career with that mindset. But I recognize that today puts the final stamp on that. I hope you are all encouraged by this historic event. I am thankful that God has guided me on this path and that I have been able to realize this dream. Today is an opportunity to share with all of you my hope that today inspires others to be completely confident and to reach for your greatest dreams. To the Bangor High Junior ROTC students who have joined us today, and to my Piscataquis Community High School Olympia Snow Women's Leadership Institute mentees who may be watching, as you set your goals and develop your dreams for the future, my hope for you and all other young Mainers is that you hear and know that leadership takes many forms and paths, but most importantly, know that our state needs you and wants you right here in our state. Your future is bright and the opportunities are endless. As I move into this seat, I want to extend my deepest appreciation to General Farnham for his years of mentorship and leadership. Having a front row seat for many years provided me with the countless opportunities to observe him in action. I had to pay close attention because he's an amazingly humble leader and goes about his business ever so quietly. It's very easy to miss some of the most profound lessons. I have captured many of those lessons, and I know they will be needed along my journey. Thank you, sir. And while it will take me a little bit to get back up to speed on all things Army, learn to speak a bit more Air Force, and spend a little extra time with my teammates at Maine Bureau of Veteran Services and Maine Emergency Management to learn more about their initiatives and challenges, I'm excited to get to work and to serve the people of Maine and our nation. 3 words to take away from today:
and apply to a manner that best fits you wherever you are. Learn. All you can. Work on your goals and don't give up. Serve this state the best you can. Thank you.
Thank you, General Dunn. Please be seated. We will now transition to General Farnham's retirement. We are honored to have Lieutenant General Sassville, Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau, with us today to provide remarks and to present Major General Farnham with retirement awards. Lieutenant General Sassville is the 12th Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau. The Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau is the second in charge of the National Guard Bureau, which is a joint activity of the Department of Defense. Prior to assuming his current position, Lieutenant General Sassville was the Commander, Continental U.S. North American Aerospace Defense Command Region, and 1st Air Force, Air Force's Northern headquartered at Tyndall Air Force Base, Florida. Please welcome Lieutenant General Sassville.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Historic day for the great state of Maine. Governor Mills, thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity to participate in your ceremony. It's truly an honor to be here, and it's wonderful to be back in the great state of Maine. My father was born and raised in Lewiston, and Maine is where many of my favorite memories growing up took place. I'd also like to footnote that with the fact that I'm only here because of the great Olympia J. Snow, who nominated me to the United States Air Force Academy in 1980. Senator King, I know we've already been through the introductions. I'll just talk about a few. Senator King, General Michaelides, Stentz, General Stencil, General Rice, Catfish, great to see you, Nancy. Thank you all for being here. General Dunn, congratulations. You've got big shoes to fill. We'll be cheering you on from the Pentagon. Give me a call if you get in trouble. General Adams, senior enlisted leaders, I'm going to miss some people, I apologize. Various staffers, representatives, other honored guests, friends, and perhaps most importantly, family, especially the Honorable Nikki Farnham. I just get a kick out of that. The Honorable Nikki Farnham, my classmate from the United States Air Force Academy. '85, best alive, right? Before I move on, Senator King, thank you for your tireless efforts on Capitol Hill on behalf of our National Guard. You are a powerful voice for the value of the National Guard, as we heard earlier, and your advocacy helps ensure our soldiers and airmen have the equipment they need to serve. We will continue from the National Guard Bureau to work with the Air Force and congressional leaders to push for concurrent and proportional recapitalization of our aging KC-135 fleet with KC-46s. The 101st Air Refueling Wing is and will be a key part of our ability to execute the National Defense Strategy for years to come. Thank you, Senator. But today, I'm here to recognize an extraordinary airman and leader with 2 awards, the Distinguished Service Medal and the National Guard Minuteman Award. The DSM is a federal award presented to senior officers who hold at least the rank of Major General and for exceptionally meritorious service in a position of great responsibility, which this clearly is. It is not awarded lightly or freely. Each service has their own version, and today Major General Farnham is being awarded, as expected, the Air Force Edition. And in acknowledgement of the duality of our service to our nation and states as Guardsmen, the Minuteman you'll see shortly is a treasured symbol for the National Guard. It links almost 4 centuries of Guardsmen to the very earliest days of our nation. It is a reminder of the fight for independence, the bold experiment of our democracy and the triumph of Americans over the longest of odds. It is a tribute to citizen warriors whose love of country called them to wear the cloth of our nation. And it is an emblem of our evolution from state militias to what we have today as an operational force. I can think of no one more deserving of both of these cherished recognitions than Major General Doug Farnham. Over Doug's 40 years of service, he distinguished himself with tenacity and integrity and his unwavering commitment to the state of Maine. In every assignment at every level, Doug built a reputation as a calm and reasoned leader with deep experience. No matter the situation, he always kept his cool. Perhaps this was related to his civilian career, leading his family's fourth-generation ice manufacturing company. Val Kilmer's Iceman has nothing on Doug Farnham. Perhaps these are some of the reasons why Doug was confirmed as Maine's Adjutant General in 2016. I don't know. His confirmation made him the first Air National Guard Adjutant General in Maine in more than 20 years, I understand. Over the past 8 years, Doug has led the soldiers and airmen of the Maine National Guard through challenging and unprecedented events, from a global pandemic to threats to a peaceful transition of presidential power. Despite the difficult and dynamic environment, Doug led the Maine National Guard with clarity, dignity, and unwavering purpose. He also strengthened Maine's relationship with your state partner nation, Montenegro, which, a NATO ally and a very dynamic part of the European continent, is an incredibly important piece of the state partnership program. The Department of Defense started this program in an effort over 30 years ago with 3 relationships in 1991 as the Berlin Wall crumbled. It now includes 88 partnerships with 100 nations and all 54 of our states, territories, and the District of Columbia, and it is growing. Doug made 7 trips to Montenegro to work with our allies and our partners. But Doug's exceptional leadership goes far beyond the Pine Tree State. Doug also served as Vice President of Air for the Adjutants General Association of the United States. That's the TAG Club. There, he was a tireless voice for telling the National Guard story to the greater Air Force community, sharing our role as a vital contributor to the National Defense Strategy and the Joint Force via implementing the Joint Warfighting Concept. In addition, Doug was one of the 2 Air National Guard Adjutants General who represented the 54 in the Air Force corporate structure, and he served as a conduit between the Adjutants General, the Director of the Air National Guard, and Air Force leadership. He was also one of 2 Adjutant General advisors to the Air National Guard's Strategic Planning System Steering Committee. These are all the things that he did that probably you knew nothing about. He was a busy guy, and all of the efforts in those areas greatly helped the National Guard Bureau better understand the needs of the states, and ultimately our guardsmen, many in this room. Doug, this DSM and Minuteman Award are small representations of the tremendous impact you've had on the state of Maine and the National Guard as a whole. We also know that your success was derived in great part from the support of a loving and uplifting family, so thank you for your role in this. We are forever grateful for your wisdom, your leadership, and your advocacy. I wish you all the best in your well-deserved retirement. It's been an honor to serve with you. You've truly been always ready, always there. Congratulations.
General Sassville will now present General Farnham with his retirement award. Attention to orders. The United States of America, to all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that the President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress July 9th, 1918, has awarded the Distinguished Service Medal to Major General Douglas A. Farnham for exceptionally meritorious service in a duty of great responsibility, 4 February 2016 to 29 February 2024. Given under my hand, 19 January 2024, Michael A. Lowe, Lieutenant General, United States Air Force, Director, Air National Guard. Please take your seats. General Sassville will now present General Farnham with the Minuteman Award. The Minuteman statue is a bronze sculpture that represents the citizen soldier of 1775. It was unveiled on April 19, 1875, during the centennial celebration of the Battle of Concord. The statue has stood guard over the hallowed ground ever since and has become an American icon. The image of the statue is the symbol of the National Guard. The Minuteman statue stands as a reminder that our freedoms must be fought for and to never take them for granted. It is a testament to the bravery and courage of the citizen soldiers who fights for freedom. We will now present the Honorable Nikki Farnham with the Spouse Appreciation Award. The Military Spouse Award has been given for many years and reaches back in time to when the military member was almost exclusively a man and his wife was recognized for serving as his primary support, enabling him to serve. While this is often still true today, we want to recognize that many military wives who have also worn the uniform, and that is the case today with Nikki, who is a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and served honorably for 6 years with the United States Air Force. Thank you, ma'am, for your service to your country, both in uniform and as a military spouse. Chief Master Sergeant Cody, would you please escort Nikki to her seat? Brigadier General Preston will now present a gift from the Maine Army National Guard.
General Farnham, the Maine Army National Guard is honored and privileged to present to you this decorative art display commemorating and, more importantly, celebrating your career. From T-38 Talon to your Air Force Academy up through the KC-135 Fueler, and of course your pilot wings. Oh, and up here in the left corner there's another logo that we found. The Army guys couldn't really find any real significance, but there it is. No, seriously, the Army is absolutely thrilled to celebrate your career, your impressive career, and we appreciate all that you've done. But when you're at camp, we were worried. We wanted you also to have an opportunity. When you're not at camp, we wanted you to have something to remind you of the beauty down there in Trenton on the Bold Coast of Maine. So So if you flip this, there you are, looking at the coastline around MDI.
Thank you, General Preston. I now invite Brigadier General Roy to enter the stage for the presentation of gifts from the Maine Air National Guard.
This is the last time I'll make them feel scared that I'm on stage. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate all your sir. So from the Air National Guard, a token picture of our tanker with signatures from all our folks, just a little memory of some of the names as we look back on us. But a couple words to the family, Nikki and the boys. You don't understand how important it is to the Air National Guard and to the state of Maine that you share your dad with us. So when I'm in D.C. with him, and I was in D.C. with him before Google was a thing. Put it in perspective for you. Watching him operate in that environment and what he does for us and what he's taught all of us, Byron and the rest of the leadership team here, he's opened up some doors. When I walk around down there with a maniac patch on, people smile, they let me in their office, we talk about what I need to get done. And it's very impressive, and his legacy will live on for a long time. So I know I'm embarrassing. Nikki, I'm sorry, but we got him something a little bigger. So with a 40-year career and everything he's done, small token, try to get most of what may have happened throughout the time. I think really the value in this is the family sitting down and asking what each one of these are.
Thank you, General Roy. We would like to invite the Maine Air and Army National Guard Honor Guard to come forward for our next presentation. It is customary to present the United States flag to members as they retire from active service. Esteemed guests, the Honor Guard will now conduct the United States flag folding ceremony. The flag they present today was flown over the U.S. Capitol in honor of General Farnham's 39+ years of dedicated service to our nation. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been the symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in the blue field, representing a new constellation. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space when Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Since 1776, no generation of Americans have been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's service members remain committed to preserving that freedom for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express gratitude to those individuals who fought and who continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, service members have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. The certificate that accompanies General Farnham's United States flag reads, "At the request of Senator Susan M. Collins, this flag was flown over the United States Capitol for Major General Douglas A. Farnham in honor of his 39 years of service to his country." It is time for the reading of the retirement order. Governor Mills, could you please join Major General Farnham? Attention to orders. Special order number AB 32, Maine, dated 3 January 2024. Major General Douglas A. Farnham, Joint Force Headquarters, Maine Air National Guard, is relieved from assignment with Joint Force Headquarters, Maine Air National Guard, Augusta, Maine, and honorably discharged from the Air National Guard of the state of Maine, effective 29 February 2024. By order of the Governor, official, Frank W. Roy, Brigadier General, Maine Air National Guard, Commander. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Governor Mills will now present Major General Farnham with a State of Maine flag flown over the Capitol. The certificate that accompanies General Farnham's Maine flag reads, "This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the Maine State House at the request of the Governor, Janet T. Mills, for Major General Douglas A. Farnham in honor of his 39 years of service to his country." Thank you, Governor Mills. You may be seated. Major General Farnham, we would be honored for you to take the podium and provide your remarks.
So the easy part's done. First, just thank you all. You know, I think sometimes the folks that aren't in the military think that we love these things, you know? the formality, wearing the dress uniform, but we don't. But these military ceremonies do represent our common tradition and values. These are traditions and values passed down from those who came before us, and it is important that we continue them and pass them on. It is part of the common bond that all of us who wear the uniform have, no matter the color of the uniform. But it's also a lot of work. Thank you, Zeb, Carlo, Brian, and all the folks that worked hard behind the scenes to make this all happen. I love the Joint Honor Guard, the 195th Band. Thanks for being part of this. And especially, I appreciate that you learned how to play the Air Force song when I became TAG. I also want a quick shout out to our deployed airmen and soldiers. You know, there's a few of them been coming home over the last few days, but over Christmas we had 188 airmen and soldiers deployed. 5 years ago, when Governor Mills reappointed me, Nikki said that I was in trouble. Now that I only had two choices, get fired or decide on my own to retire. Governor Mills, thanks for not firing me and allowing me to make the difficult decision on my own. And of course, thank you for your leadership and support along the way. General Sasseville, I really appreciate you making the trip up here to do this. And I'm really excited that you get to spend some time with our airmen and soldiers tonight and tomorrow. I'm not quite as happy that you gave Nikki a reason to remind me that it is 85 best alive. But remember, my class trained you. Diane, congratulations. And thank you for the kind remarks. And thanks for mistaking my storytelling for mentoring. There's not really much else to say. You know, you'll feel frustrated, stressed, angry, overwhelmed, and isolated, but also passionate, excited, amazed, grateful, and most notably proud. Proud of the airmen, soldiers, department civilians who get up every day and want to do the right thing. And they're good at what they do. But you know that. So be proud. Be proud. Senator King, I appreciate you and Senator Collins for participating today. We are really lucky to have an entire congressional delegation that serve on important committees and work so well together for our state. There are quite a few legislators in the room today. Governor Mills was a little nervous you might form a quorum and pass a bill. The best jokes have a little bit of truth. We do appreciate your attention and support of our issues. Fellow commissioners, teammates, and that's how I felt. Thanks for letting me be part of your team. Current leaders of the Maine Army and Air Guard, senior enlisted leaders, chief warrants, now that I know what they are. MEMA, BVS, Pete and Dave. And of course, the many partners like the VA, Maine CDC, and the MIAC. Thank you all for making my job easy most of the time. There are a lot of retired generals in the room. I've been told that generals once retired have special powers. Being here is really a reminder of our history, and that's important. And many have provided sage advice. Just last night, I got a text from General Bill Libby, Adjutant General number 38, since we're keeping score, General Adams. He texted me to remind me to be done speaking by 7 because Maine Northeastern hockey game would be on then. One of the best surprises of this job is how much I enjoyed working with the tags of the other states, territories in the District of Columbia, the 54. Catfish, Stents, Dave Michaelides. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for being part of that team, even though General Rice ended up going off to be the dang or something after he was a tag. But one of the most important parts of this has been the relationship I've had with the fellow tags. Stents and I spent a lot of time together helping tell the Air Guard value proposition story. He was also the target of most of my fighter pilot jokes. So many of you in the room are watching the live stream today, and by the way, thank you to Maine Public for streaming this. In some way, are responsible for me standing here right now. So my remarks today are basically one big thank you. You know, teachers, coaches, teachers, Dusty, thank you for being here. You know, so many examples of leadership sitting here. Almost 50 years ago, I met a guy in the Brewer High School locker room who became an example of leadership to this day. Chief Master Sergeant retired Dan Moore, still doing amazing things, and I've been telling that story for a long time. The first time I told that story, I made that remark, it was prefaced with 20 years ago. The next time I told it, it was 30 years ago. Then it was 40 years ago. Now it's 50 years ago. Next time I tell it, it's going to be many years ago. You know, there's one line in my bio that I was almost removed a few times because it seemed insignificant. It says, served as primary pilot of the Commander, U.S. Space Command, That was General Pete Petrowski, a great leader. And after a couple trips to Maine, he'd been speaking to Rotary, Kiwanis, up at the University of Maine. He got a tour of Getchell Brothers, the family business, and maybe we had a day at Sugarloaf. But he told me that it's okay to leave active duty and find other ways to serve your community and nation. Bill Libby planted the seed when he called me and asked if I'd ever consider being a tag. Our employers are so important, as Diane mentioned. My situation was a little different, but without the team at Getchell Brothers covering me, I couldn't have done this. So Donnie and Tony and Roxanne, thank you. So many others I wish I had time to mention. Just know I appreciate you all for what you have done for me, but also for the fact that almost every single person in this room, in some way, you serve our community, state and nation. Airmen, soldiers, state employees, elected officials, volunteers, commissioners, mayors, senators, governor, new Adjutant General, number 41. You all serve, and it isn't easy, and it's not always appreciated, so thank you. I've had the opportunity to do some really cool and meaningful things. Go a lot of places. I think I counted 19 countries and all 50 states, 49 of them in the C-21. In the C-21, I flew General Curtis LeMay, the father of SAC. And for a few moments, I thought he'd passed away on my airplane. That's another story. He didn't, by the way, just for the record. I got a chance to fly the Secretary of Defense, Les Aspin, into Aspen, Colorado. Calling ahead on the radio for his rental car, we said it was a car for Aspen. They said, "You're flying into Aspen." We said, "No, the car is for Aspen." This was all over the radio, and it's a true story. I got to take off at night, rejoin with a Pease, New Hampshire tanker, and refuel the first two B-2s on their way to start our involvement in Kosovo, and be back at my desk at Getchell Brothers by 8 o'clock, with just a little adrenaline flowing. Who hasn't access to the guard problem? I got to serve as the commander of an Air National Guard wing, a flying wing, in my hometown, in a strategic location, and an extremely relevant mission. I got sworn in by 2 governors. I got in the White House. I got in the Secretary of Defense's office. I got in the Secretary of the Air Force's office. And I got to do it all beside a lot of really great people. While I was doing this, the family usually wasn't. So thank you for being here or watching. The support, confidence, and humility you provided was all needed. Trips, deployments, the years of weekly night flights, and more years of weekly nights on alert. The time at home, but not really being present, maybe even preparing some remarks like last night. Scott now in DC, Carl in Boston, and Gary now in St. Petersburg. While I was doing all the cool stuff, you have done some really cool stuff too, and done what was needed to do to be great students, athletes, and citizens, building great lives, and bringing 2 super women into our house, Hillary and Elise. Gary, we know you're still working on it. Your mother and I are proud of you all. Many of you know that Nikki keeps a pretty busy schedule of her own, but I have always been able to focus on my job or jobs because she took care of everything else. It was not an equal partnership. She had a much greater load, and I know I don't thank her enough. I've sat through and officiated many retirement ceremonies, and I always thought it was a good reminder that we are very lucky to have this opportunity to wear the uniform. The emotions you will always see, a certain sadness of leaving the teammates, and excitement for what lies ahead, and pride in what's been done. I feel all that. So for those of you still serving, I hope I remind you today that what you do matters. You should be proud today, and don't wait until you're retiring to feel or celebrate these emotions. Senator King isn't the only one that can quote Joshua Chamberlain. You know, after the Civil War, General Chamberlain was asked why the young men of Maine were willing to give up their lives and their home for the country. He said, "We saw our old flag in the field, and that was enough for us. We knew that it meant things, great things. So please remember why we serve. It's been an honor, it's been a privilege, it's been a ride, so thank you."
Thank you, Major General Farnham. Chaplain Weigel, please come forward to provide the benediction.
Ladies and gentlemen, I rejoice to invite you to join me in the heart of prayer for this. God, you have been our help in ages past. You are our very present help today. Lord, bless both of these leaders and their families as they embark on what's next. Be with General Farnham as he and his family try to figure out what to do with all their extra time. Help him especially to dope out that acute angle of not getting up to put on the uniform after 40 years of doing so. Bless him good, Lord. Put your hand on General Dunn, Father, and enable her to lead this organization with skill and vision. Give her and her family stamina and wisdom for the long haul. You know the plans you have for us, plans to give us a hope and a future. Thank you, God, for shedding us your grace. Now go with us as we leave this place with confidence and with our expectations set on you. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Weigel. All please remain standing for the departure of the official party. Esteemed guests. Sorry. Esteemed guests, this concludes the formal portion of the retirement ceremony. We thank you for being here today to honor Major General Farnham and Brigadier General Dunn, making this a most memorable event. Please join us in the lobby to congratulate them and to enjoy some light refreshments. Thank you and have a great day.